With this law, students who take out college loans will be provided clear and concise information about their obligations. And with this law, ordinary investors like seniors and folks saving for retirement will be able to receive more information about the costs and risks of mutual funds and other investment products. So that they can make better financial decisions as to what will work for them. So, all told, these reforms represent the strongest consumer financial protections in history. In history. And these protections will be enforced by a new consumer watchdog with just one job. Looking out for people, not big banks, not lenders. Not investment houses looking out for people as they interact with the financial system. And that's not just good for consumers, that's good for the economy. Because reform will put a stop to a lot of the bad loans that fueled a debt-based bubble. And it will mean all companies will have to seek customers by offering better products. Instead of more deceptive ones. Now, beyond the consumer protections I've outlined. Reform will also rein in the abuse and excess that nearly brought down our financial system. It will finally bring transparency to the kinds of complex and risky transactions that helped trigger the financial crisis. Shareholders will also have a greater say on the pay of CEOs and other executives. So they can reward success instead of failure. And finally, because of this law, The American people will never again be asked to foot the bill for Wall Street's mistakes. There will be no more tax-funded bailouts, period. If a large financial institution should ever fail, this reform gives us the ability to wind it down without endangering the broader economy. And there will be new rules to make clear that no firm is somehow protected because it is too big to fail, so we don't have another AIG. That's what this reform will mean. Now, it doesn't mean our work is over. For these new rules to be effective, regulators will have to be vigilant. We may need to make adjustments along the way as our financial system adapts to these new changes and changes around the globe. No law can force anybody to be responsible, it's still incumbent on those on Wall Street to heed the lessons of this crisis in terms of how they conduct their businesses. The fact is, every American from Main Street to Wall Street has a stake in our financial system. Wall Street banks and firms invest the capital that makes it possible for Start UPS to sell new products. They provide loans to businesses to expand and to hire. They back mortgages for families purchasing a new home. That's why we'll all stand to gain from these reforms. We all. When investors around the world have confidence in our markets. We all win when shareholders have more power and more information. We all win when consumers are protected against abuse. And we all win when folks are rewarded based on how well they perform, not how well they evade accountability. In the end, our financial system only works, our market is only free when there are clear rules and basic safeguards that prevent abuse, that check excess. That ensure that it is more profitable to play by the rules than to game the system. And that's what these reforms are designed to achieve, no more, no less. Because that's how we will ensure that our economy works for consumers, that it works for investors. That it works for financial institutions, that it works for all of us. This is the central lesson not only of this crisis but of our history. Ultimately, there's no dividing line between Main Street and Wall Street. We rise or fall together as one nation. So these reforms will help lift our economy and lead all of us to a stronger, more prosperous future. And that's why I'm so honored to sign these reforms into law. And I'm so grateful to everybody who worked so hard to make this day possible. Thank you very much, everybody. Barack Obama. Eulogy for Dr. Dorothy Height. Delivered April 29, 2010, Washington National Cathedral, Washington, D. C. Please be seated. Let me begin by saying a word to Dr. Dorothy Height's sister, Ms. Aldridge. To some, she was a mentor. To all, she was a friend. But to you, she was family, and my family offers yours our sympathy for your loss. We are gathered here today to celebrate the life, and mourn the passing, of Dr. Dorothy Height. It is fitting that we do so here, in our National Cathedral of St. Peter and St. Paul. Here. In a place of great honor. Here, in the house of God. Surrounded by the love of family and of friends. The love in this sanctuary is a testament to a life lived righteously, a life that lifted other lives. A life that changed this country for the better over the course of nearly 1 century here on earth. Michelle and I didn't know Dr. Height as well, or as long, as many of you. We were reminded during a previous moment in the service. When you have a nephew who's 88, you've lived a full life. But we did come to know her in the early days of my campaign. And we came to love her, as so many loved her. We came to love her stories. And we loved her smile. And we loved those hats that she wore like a crown regal. In the White House, she was a regular. She came by not once, not twice, 21 times she stopped by the White House. Took part in our discussions around healthcare reform in her final months. Last February, I was scheduled to see her and other civil rights leaders to discuss the pressing problems of unemployment. Reverend Sharpton. Vangelis of the NAACP, Mark Morial of the National Urban League. Then we discovered that Washington was about to be blanketed by the worst blizzard in record, 2 feet of snow. So I suggested to one of my aides, we should call. And I tell that story partly because it brings a smile to my face. But also because it captures the quiet, dogged, dignified persistence that all of us who love Dr. Height came to know so well, an attribute that we understand she learned early on. Born in the capital of the old Confederacy, brought north by her parents as part of that great migration, Dr. Height was raised in another age, in a different America, beyond the experience of many. It's hard to imagine, I think, life in the first decades of that last century when the elderly woman that we knew was only a girl. Jim Crow ruled the South. The Klan was on the rise, a powerful political force. Lynching was all too often the penalty for the offense of black skin. Slaves had been freed within living memory, but too often, their children, their grandchildren remained captive. Because they were denied justice and denied equality, denied opportunity, denied a chance to pursue their dreams. The progress that followed, progress that so many of you helped to achieve. Progress that ultimately made it possible for Michelle and me to be here as President and First Lady. That progress came slowly. Progress came from the collective effort of multiple generations of Americans. From preachers and lawyers and thinkers and doers, men and women like Dr. Height, who took it upon themselves, often at great risk, to change this country for the better. From men like W. E. B. Du Bois and A. Philip Randolph. Women like Mary McLeod Bethune and Betty Friedan, they're Americans whose names we know. They are leaders whose legacies we teach. They are giants who fill our history books. Well, Dr. Dorothy Height deserves a place in this pantheon. She, too, deserves a place in our history books. She, too, deserves a place of honor in America's memory. Look at her body of work. Desegregating the YWCA. Laying the groundwork for integration on Wednesdays. In Mississippi. Lending pigs to poor farmers as a sustainable source of income. Strategizing with civil rights leaders, holding her own, the only woman in the room. Queen Esther to this Moses generation, even as she led the National Council. Of Negro women with vision and energy, with vision and energy, vision and class. But we remember her not solely for all she did during the civil rights movement. We remember her for all she did over a lifetime, behind the scenes, to broaden the movement's reach. To shine a light on stable families and tight-knit communities. To make us see the drive for civil rights and women's rights not as a separate struggle. But as part of a larger movement to secure the rights of all humanity, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity. It's an unambiguous record of righteous work, worthy of remembrance, worthy of recognition. And yet, one of the ironies is that year after year, decade in, decade out, Dr. Height went about her work quietly, without fanfare, without self-promotion. She never cared about who got the credit. She didn't need to see her picture in the papers. She understood that the movement gathered strength from the bottom up. Those unheralded men and women who don't always make it into the history books but who steadily insisted on their dignity. On their manhood and womanhood. She wasn't interested in credit. What she cared about was the cause. The cause of justice. The cause of equality. The cause of opportunity. Freedom's cause.